Today we are testing the Tesla Model Y long range. We're going to find out what it's like to drive, what that ride comfort is really like. We're also going to wonder if this Model Y, the long range, is the perfect one for Australia with our enormous distances. We're going to look at practicality, safety, the price, the rivals, and what you get as well in terms of features. Now, if you want to read the full review, go to carsguide.com.au. When the Tesla Model Y came to Australia about 2 years ago, it didn't have many rivals. There was really only the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and now it's got far more, like Kia's EV6, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Subaru Solterra, Toyota's BZ4X, and soon the Polestar 4 will be coming. Now the long range sits in the middle of the Model Y lineup, so it sits above the entry grade and below the performance Model Y. In terms of long range, that means it has 533 kilometres, which is about 80 k's more than the entry grade Model Y and about 20 kilometres more than the performance. The price, as you can see on the screen, is actually really good. But these days, as I said before, it's got many more rivals than it did when it first came to Australia. So, what's it got on offer? Let's look at the standard features. Coming standard on the Model Y long range are 19-inch wheels, there's the fixed glass roof, synthetic leather upholstery, and there's also that 15-inch central touchscreen. There's power adjustable and heated front seats, a 13-speaker stereo, sat-nav, wireless phone charging, dual-zone climate control with directional air vents in the second row, and a power tailgate. Also standard is Tesla's so-called autopilot, which is an advanced form of adaptive cruise control which combines braking and steering. Now, there are some things I really like, and then there are other features I'm not a fan of at all. Let's talk about the screen, because I like it from a media entertainment perspective, and there is a lot of entertainment perspective when you think about it. It has so many novelty functions. You can do fart noises, there's a megaphone mode where you can project your voice outside or change the horn sound as well. There's video games, there's a fireplace thing as well. At my 9-year-old's birthday party on the weekend, a lot of the party was spent in the car just doing fart noises and using the megaphone. So yeah, 9-year-old kids love it. What I don't love though is this gigantic panoramic sunroof. Now there's no shade that comes standard, you can actually buy clip-on ones, but in Australia in summer you feel like an ant under a magnifying glass. And just sitting here now, you know, it's 25 degrees outside, but I reckon it's about 40 degrees inside here at least. So you've got to pump that air conditioning up to try and bring that temperature down. So yeah, that is an issue. And then there are these seats. They are vegan leather or synthetic leather, and let me tell you, they are all synthetic and no leather. They do feel very plasticky. On a hot, humid day like today, they feel pretty gross, actually. I tell you what's good, the sound system is good, and my ears have almost been blasted out after the 9-year-old's birthday party. And then there is this, the Tesla app. This is pretty cool, actually. I've been messing around with this all weekend. You pair it up with the car, and you've got some controls over the car, so you can honk the horn, like that. You can open the doors, you can lock the doors, you can open the front boot, the back boot, you can put the air conditioning on, you can even summon the car as well and find out its location if you've left it at the supermarket and you don't know where it is. That's quite handy as well. There you go. Let's talk design. The Model Y is a mid-sized SUV. It's about 4.75 metres long, and that makes it about the same size as Kia's EV6 or the Ford Mustang Mach-E or even Hyundai's Ioniq 5. The thing is, to me, unlike those cars, the Tesla Model Y looks a bit plain, a little bit awkward in almost a Toyota Prius kind of way, and I think the design is starting to date. I get it, the Model Y is like a mini Model X, which did look cool in 2016, but not so much now. There is a styling update coming to the Model Y, but look, it won't be a completely new car, just a few tweaks here and there to keep it looking current. But it won't do much. I think the time is up on this design. The cabin also feels like it needs the update too. We were wowed by Tesla's big screens in the past, but now that stuck-on giant tablet just seems passé. And the featureless cabin just looks sterile and void of personality compared to the intricate and intriguing interiors that we're seeing from Kia and Hyundai. I tell you what though, it is practical. Cabin storage is really, really good. Apart from 2 cup holders there and 2 cup holders in the back, you've got a deep center console box there. That's the key, by the way, it just goes right there. You've got a large well in here that you can almost get lost in. That's for your phone there, that's a wireless charger. All right, let me show you the back seats. Oh, check out these door pockets. They're enormous. You can almost get in them. Now, back seats. A word about these door handles. I know they look really cool, but they aren't incredibly functional. In fact, it takes a little while to get used to them. You got to sort of push in there with your thumb and then open the door. Look, owners who are watching this will be like, I got used to it after a month. And that's true, you will. The back door itself doesn't open particularly wide. Now, that does cause issues for older people or younger people getting in and out, but the room inside is really good. I'll show you. Now, I'm 189 centimeters tall. That's in my driving position, and that's really good leg room. Headroom is also really, really good too, thanks to this glass roof, as much as I am not a huge fan of it. Let me show you the boot. The boot's good too. Really good, decent sized boot. Fits all the Cars Guide luggage in there. That's impressive. And there's a front boot, a fruit. I'll show you. Okay, so the Model Y also has a front boot because there's no engine. And I've got the app on my phone, as I showed you earlier, and you can actually open the front boot using the app. There it is. I kind of like that. That's really good. A decent size as well. It's not enormous, but it's big enough for, it's big enough for one Richard Berry. I could shut that. Actually, I'm not going to shut it. Now, obviously, there's no engine in here because it's an electric car, but the output of this Model Y, this long range, is incredibly good. It's got 2 electric motors, one at the front, one at the back. That makes all-wheel drive, and the output, the combined output, is 378 kilowatts. That's enormous. The torque is 493, also huge. 0 to 100 in 5 seconds flat. It's not quite as fast as the performance model, that's 3.7, but that's ridiculous, ludicrous even, or whatever they call it these days. Should we go for a drive? Let's go for a drive. All right, let's go for a drive, but before we do, let's talk about the speedo, or the lack thereof. Okay, so you can tell how fast you're driving in a Tesla Model Y by looking at this large center screen here, and the tiny number up the top here in the right-hand corner is your speed in kilometers per hour. There's no instrument cluster. I love instrument clusters, and there's not one. There's not even a head-up display, which it really needs as well, especially in Australia, where those speed limits are monitored by the authorities very closely. A thing I do like though is that your drive, park and reverse gears are here on the stalk next to the steering wheel, on the steering column. That makes it so easy to chuck it in reverse, chuck it into driving, doing a 3-point turn. I really like that. So put it into drive and away we go. Now, being electric, the car is obviously silent. You will hear other noises around you. If you haven't driven an electric car before, suddenly you'll hear wind and you'll hear the sound of the road and you hear things squeaking in the car. Those are all normal things in an electric car. Now, acceleration, being an electric car is brisk. Okay, there's a chill setting, which is not as brutal, or the standard setting, which is pretty exciting. So 0 to 105 seconds, 378 kilowatts. That's enormous power output. It's very fun, and that is a fun thing about Teslas and all electric cars, is that instantaneous acceleration. Now, in terms of the ride, now there's been a lot of hoo-ha about the ride in the Tesla Model Y. A lot of people say that it's a bit crashy, a bit firm, a bit jiggly. That was the previous version of it. This is the updated Model Y with the suspension. Tesla said they've addressed that suspension issue. This has got what's called the Comfort suspension. And I'm telling you now, it's a lot better. The bumps are soaked up much better, but at the same time, there is still a firmness there. It's not as comfortable as I reckon it should be, and there's still a lot of jiggliness, if that's a word. So the body control basically should be better in this car. So as you go over potholes and bumps and that type of thing, the body of the car moves around, it's not composed. It could be better, it could be more comfortable, but it is better than what it was. So there you go. Now, in terms of visibility, visibility out the front is really good, out the sides is good, out the rear side is really good, out the back it's terrible. Okay, that rear window is on such a slant that the actual aperture that you've got to look out is, it's like looking out of a slice of lemon. It's really difficult. The good news is though that the cameras are fantastic. So if you're worried about kids running around the car in driveways and things like that, the cameras will pick them up and so will the sensors. So that's a good thing. You can also drive with what's called 1 foot braking. So there's a setting which increases the regenerative braking to the point where if you just lift off the accelerator, the car will slow down almost to a complete stop. That's great. Although passengers tend to get a bit car sick with that lurchy feeling that you get. And I'm looking at my camera guy now, he's nodding his head every time I take my foot off the accelerator. It's not fun. So you can actually change the setting in that so it's like a rolling setting so that it doesn't cause any seasickness issues. Seasickness? Car sickness. Okay, let's talk safety. Now, the Tesla Model Y got a 5-star, the maximum 5-star ANCAP rating in 2022. It scored incredibly well for adult occupant protection, 97% or thereabouts, incredibly well. Child safety in a crash as well, also outstanding too. It's a very, very safe car. Advanced safety tech, AEB, lane keeping assistance, rear cross traffic alert, the lot. It's got everything. Adaptive cruise control is off the scale in terms of its capability too. Although full self-driving is not legal in Australia, and so it's limited in this Australian car that I've got here. On another note, let's talk about the lack of physical buttons in the cockpit here. Nearly every function of the car is through the screen. I find that to be a bit of a safety issue as well. Even though the screen is really easy to navigate through, nothing beats an aircon control, which is a physical button. You can just press it. Having to like touch that and then touch the climate control and then go through a screen to turn the temperature down while you're driving. I mean, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, but physical buttons, they're the best. The reason why anybody would buy the Tesla Model Y long range is for its long range, which is 533 kilometers on a full charge. That's 78 kilometers more than the rear-wheel drive entry-grade Model Y and 19 kilometers further than the performance version. Tesla claims the Model Y long range will use 16.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers over a combination of open and urban roads. And in my 133 kilometers of driving, the trip computer showed an average consumption of 16.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, or 22 kilowatt hours used over that entire distance. Tesla says that using one of its 250 kilowatt superchargers, owners can add up to 275 kilometers of range in 15 minutes. Now, when it comes to ownership, the Tesla Model Y is covered by a 4-year, 80,000 kilometer warranty. Now, that falls short of Hyundai's 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty of the Ioniq 5, and Kia has a 7-year unlimited kilometer coverage on its EV6. As for the battery warranty, Tesla will cover it for 8 years or 192,000 kilometers, which is better than Hyundai's 8-year, 160,000 kilometer deal for its Ioniq 5, and 7 years or 150,000 kilometers from Kia for its EV6. The long range definitely is the sweet spot in the Model Y lineup. The price is really good. It's very competitive compared to its rivals, but in terms of its looks, it's showing its age, especially compared to the Kias and the Hyundais which are coming out. Same goes for the interior as well. I like minimalism, but I don't like boring, and that is verging on boring. And then the driving, that ride comfort really, really could be better. It's not terrible, there's just so much to improve there. But in terms of battery tech, it's amazing. In terms of range, the long range is the one to get. No one ever complains about having too much range. Now, if you want to read the full review, go to carsguide.com.au.